back to our Leash King build. We're going to be working more on this leg today. I think we're going to be closing it up and getting a little bit further with the articulating points. So things are going to be moving a little quicker. Like I said, we're going to be doing 12, 13, and 14 today, just to get a little bit further into our build as we get a lot of steps ahead of us. So this is going to be more of that articulating parts that I was talking about. It looks like we have the back panel for the leg, so we're closing it off. And then we'll be starting, I think, on another leg assembly. We'll find out in a minute with step number 14 here. So let's get right into it. All right, here we go, building the ankle. We have this little spiky part, we have a spring, we have this cap, and it's just gonna go right into here. What I recommend is holding it down, using that screwdriver from part 1. And if you lose it, it's not the end of the world, although this one's kind of nice because it has a nice magnetic tip on it. So it could help you pick up and hold the pieces while you're setting them in with your other hand. You could always use a precision screwdriver. That should work just as much as this one here. Although we had a couple instances where we had to use a precision screwdriver just because this just didn't have enough torque for what we needed to had done at that step. So we ended up getting one that had a little ratchet feature. It allowed us to get a little bit more torque into it to get the screw in, because some of these metal on metal parts can be a little tricky. So like I said, get your screw set here, hold it with your thumb because you're working against the tension of that spring, and it's just gonna move around while you do that. It gets a little annoying, but that's really it. Once you get this in, you should be good to go. You just want to make sure it's really tight because you don't want that spring flying out and you have a Leash King with an exploding ankle or knee joint, whatever this one is. Now, the next part here I had to put on off camera because I needed a hammer to get this pin in, essentially. It just wasn't going. I tried pushing it with my finger and I only got it in about halfway. So I needed that hammer to really mash it in there. But once you get it in, you are good to go. So the next part here, we're just going to put it, remember this, we built this in a previous step. We're just going to put this up here. It should line up with these holes and it should just sit comfortably on there. Now we have another different screw. We have all sorts of different screws in this one. So these, I like to call these like finishing screws because these ones have really fat heads on them, and you know they're not more practical. They're for holding something in place, and they're very short and stubby. So we're just going to pop one of these right into place here, and that should hold it. So that's all this is really doing. It's just a little bit of tension here just to hold it in place. Because we do have more components we're going to put on top of it. Of course, we are not done here. This is just getting it attached to the ankle here, that or the calf, leg, whatever this is at this point, that we're working here. And this will just have it all in. So then that's it. That part is all together and it is mounted on this leg. So the next part we have is this little joint here. So this kind of just connects very simply. I think like this. It's a plastic part. So I think this is just another little transition section. Now there's supposed to be a screw that goes in here somewhere. I'm just not sure where to help hold this together. I think right here in the side, maybe like right here. So we have a little screw here, and I think this is all just to help keep it into position while we are, yep, I can feel that getting tight while we were getting this together. And that's it. That was a very simple part. That one is just going to sit on here, I believe. So it should fit over this. I think it goes in this way. It's going to fit over this assembly, yep. And then there are 2 more holes up here and 1 down here. So with that, we have a separate set of screws. I'm not going to make you watch me put more screws on. So I'm going to put those 2 screws on in a quick cut. And then we have the next part. So part 13 here is just the back cover. And I'll show you really quick. And all that's going to do is we are done working on the inside components of this leg. Like I said, you're not going to see most of this anyway. This is all going to be internal. It's going to be covered up. So this is just going to fit on top, and then we're going to screw all this together and have our final leg here. And then of course there is going to be coating on top of it, so you won't see any of these internal components. So let me get all that together. We'll take a quick look at it, and then we'll start part 14. All right, we'll be starting our step 14 here. Before we do that, here's the calf on the lovely leg that we got here with the ankle joint. I think this will be going up to the hip. Now we're going to be working on the hip. Just a quick word of caution. Some of the steps in the guide here got switched between part 14 and 15. Fanhome sent out a note letting people know, but you notice this part here has these long spikes on it. That's actually from 15, not from 14, or 2 long spikes on this side instead of 2 holes. So they're mirror images of each other, so not a problem. Just be cognizant of that when you're doing the build, that what is seen in the guide is not what you want. Exactly. So I know, confusing, but it doesn't really mess it up too much. Just look at both images and match up the pictures. What you're going to be doing is putting this spring-loaded part here into this little groove. As I try to do it with my big mitts again. This is a solution for somebody with tinier hands. But essentially what you want to do is get it inside this part here and then kind of press it down below this this little guide here. There we go. So that it fits in this groove, but you want it to be able to move essentially, because what's going to happen is this gear is going to go in here and it's going to have to articulate. So you need to be able to have it move. So if you don't get it beneath that position, that it can spring back and forth, then it's not going to work. So you can see how it has a little bit of flexibility there. So you got it locked in just right. This is going to pressure fit over that just to hold it in place. You just push it down right like that. So now we got this all set. And then we're going to put this on here. Again, looking at the mirror image that's phase 15 because this is wrong. Part 14 is wrong. So I'm not sure how much this is supposed to go in. Let's see here. There doesn't be, see, it's kind of like just the size. So maybe it's supposed to go in a little bit. No, it goes in a lot. Okay, I think it was just stuck. So essentially now I'm going to put this in here. And I think I want it to go around here because it needs to articulate. So this, I think this is where you want it. Right around there, not all the way in. Just enough that it can still connect with this. Then you're going to drop a screw in to connect the 2 pieces in the middle. You're just going to have to feel for the thread because you're not going to be able to see it because it's way, way up there. So once we get that all the way in, we'll make sure it's really tight. And now you hear that articulation right there in the joint. So that's what we want, that articulating joint there for the hip. And that's essentially it. We'll set it back to 0, right in the middle, straight, pointing up this way, matching it there. And I'm not sure where this goes at this point, but at somewhere it's going to connect to the hip, and then this is going to go back and forth. We'll find out with part 15 when we get there. I'm sure it's going to be the other half. So this is all metal. This is metal. This is metal. That's great. Metal. The only plastic part is the cover here, but then there's going to be another metal part. These are all going to hold together. So this should be really strong. So at this point, we finished most of this leg here. We have this articulating joint we just built right here for the top of for the knee. So that's kind of cool. It's got a really nice range of articulation. We have that ankle articulation. We built that last time. I think this is just going to connect to this foot here. It's going to push in, and there's going to be a pin or something. So you'll be able to go forward and then a little side to side on there as well. So we just got to wait until we have that all situated. But we don't have that pin yet, but I think we're getting pretty far. You could kind of imagine what this is going to look like now. And then we'll have this hip connecting at some point. So looking pretty good.
Well, today we worked on our legs and hips. That was really it. We're getting more on the body now. We have the foot we did last time. Just want to have this here to show you how this is all connecting. There's going to be all that, cloth fabric material on top. So you're not going to see this more just basic brown look. This is all going to be covered up entirely. So we're going to get to that point somewhere. But like I said, we spent a lot of time doing things like the head, doing some of the armor, doing some of the hilt, stuff like that. Once you get to the other parts, it's going to be quick. It's going to be solid, long parts like this that are just going to clip on. Articulation is going to be a little bit wonky. There's going to be a lot of parts for those because they're just very intricate. But once we start getting past that and we start getting to the bigger build stuff, it's just going to be whole pieces, and we're just going to be throwing cloth on top of all of it. So stuff will start to accelerate as we're getting through the parts now. We get a lot of the really important detail parts, And now we're going to be getting into some of the build parts. So you saw how quick this was to get this leg together. It was just 3 phases there, giant parts that are just throwing on, not very complex, not like we spent with the intricate detail for the shoe, for example. So we still have one more shoe to build. But once we start getting those done, everything else will start flying like this. Same with I imagine the arms will be the same, and then we'll all just start connecting them all together. So we're starting to take shape here, getting further along, still need our screwdriver. So make sure you have all yours, don't lose any of those parts. Sometimes it tells you to hold on to something for a while until later. So just make sure you're doing that. So that's all for this time. We're going to have more of our build. Let's keep tuning back as we get through this. We still got a ways ahead of us. Remember, I told you it's about 18 months worth of building. So we still have maybe about 6 months in. So we're starting to get there. But we're kind of behind on, we're all the way up to part 23 now, I think, but we're only on up to 14 here. So we're catching up to what we have, but 6 months in is about part 23, and then you go from there. So maybe by the end of this year, I think roughly we'll be finishing. So we'll be wrapping up around the holiday season, and you get to see the final product. So keep tuning back for that. Keep tuning back for more. If you want to see our Darth Vader build, head over to rebelscum.com. That one's starting to take shape too. That's pretty cool. A lot of time spent just on the helmet. You'll see why. That's all for this time, though. So like, subscribe, and follow. See you guys next time.